80-year-old Decadent, plus, Chow Thief, plus, Mortal Cultivation, plus, Fairy Poison Hair, I am a reluctant old man who has traveled through the ages. When the fairy's love flower poison broke out, I only helped her with a small favor. The fairy asked me to do this and that, which was a bit annoying. The fairy and the famous senior brother who chased after her came to my house to heal their wounds and avoid pursuit. The fairy disregarded my safety and asked me to work part-time at the enemy's place to gather intelligence. What's even more outrageous is that the fairy even asked me to learn how to cultivate immortals, saying it was to help her cultivate and heal her wounds. Well, I would rather cultivate immortality. I want to live forever. Chapter 1. Is the fairy sick? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Repay the money. Otherwise, lead your cow. After Ding Yongfu plowed the fields, he was about to rest in the thatched shed when two servants from his two owners came and shouted fiercely. The plow cows are mooing. This is the lifeblood of the whole family. Please be more lenient for a while. Ding Yongfu trembled and opened his arms, covering his cow and frightened grandson, pleading with his servants. Ding Yongfu is a traveler. Before crossing over, he was a flourishing college student. Unfortunately, after arriving in this world, I turned out to be an elderly person. The gears of fate have turned themselves so unfortunate. Ding Yongfu's actual age is only over 20 years old, but his body is already in his 80s, half buried in dirt. No matter how much he complains, he should cherish and continue his life with his family. Therefore, after crossing the country, Ding Yongfu has been responsible for taking care of the original owner and his family, living in poverty and hardship by renting land. The two servants said wickedly, "You old man, you're not far from death. Can you make money?" One of the exceptionally strong servants casually pushed Ding Yongfu. Ding Yongfu stood unsteadily and fell to the ground. Fortunately, it was only the autumn harvest, and the ground was covered with straw, which did not harm bones and was enough to make Ding Yongfu cry in pain. My grandson jumped up from behind and cried, "Don't hurt my grandfather." The two servants have no sympathy for the grandfather and grandson, they go to lead a cow. Ma Di, an old guy, a fool. Just as the grandfather and grandson were in despair, a cold and crisp voice sounded in the distance. What kind of person should not be rude to the elderly? A few people looked over and saw a young girl of 18 or 9 walking lightly. The girl was dressed in a white shirt, with a slender and graceful figure, eyebrows trimmed and nose pointed, and her eyes exquisite and divine. She was incredibly beautiful. A few people exclaimed in their hearts, "It's so beautiful, it's rare to see in the world, like a fairy in the sky." The footsteps of the two servants are still following the inertia towards the plowing cows. The girl swung her sword and a gust of sword energy surged in front of the two servants, splashing the straw on the ground. The servant was greatly frightened and exclaimed, "You really are a fairy who cultivates immortals." The two servants turned around and ran away. Ding Yongfu felt both gratitude and awe in his heart. In the world where Ding Yongfu came to cultivate immortals, mortals still make up the vast majority. As the lowest level figure among mortals, Ding Yongfu has never encountered a fairy in his life. "I can't believe I'm getting old enough to fall into the yellow soil, finally meeting the legendary immortal." Ding Yongfu asked his grandson to help him up, hoping to bravely thank the fairy. But I saw that the young fairy seemed somewhat abnormal. The young girl fairy walked towards the shed with a sword in one hand and a forehead in the other, her face flushed with excitement. When passing by Ding Yongfu's side, he mustered up the courage to ask, "May I ask the fairy, are you sick?" It feels like the fairy has been internally injured. Just now, when she activated her sword energy, the injury intensified. The young fairy didn't even glance at the old man and scolded, "Stop asking." There are several large stacks of straw piled up in the shed. The young fairy sat on the grass, quietly lucky. Ding Yongfu and his grandson are outside and dare not enter or look. For a moment, the fairy let out a painful and strange moan, as if it was unbearable. Ding Yongfu and his grandson bravely entered. The fairy lay on the straw, grabbing her chest with both hands and muttering softly in her mouth, "Hot, so hot." Based on his experience, Ding Yongfu thought it was a high fever and quickly called his grandson, "Hammer, hurry home and let Chunhua call the doctor. Tell her, if you don't have money, you can sell the cow and save the immortal. Hurry." Sun Tzu runs away immediately. The movements of the young fairy began to become strange. Twisting on the ground. The young fairy is too beautiful. The vivid and fragrant scene made Ding Yongfu, who was in his 80s, react for the first time in many years. Ding Yongfu, based on his experience of reading a large number of online articles before traveling, understood that the fairy should have been poisoned by love flowers and other poisonous substances. It is said that this poison can only be detoxified by men. And once it occurs, it must be immediately resolved, otherwise it is easy to be poisoned and die. Although I am old, I can still help. Take a look at yourself, the withered old man with white hair. Helping her is not necessarily harming her. But if you don't help, then watch the fairy fall. Whether to help or not is a question. Ding Yongfu thought for a moment, took a bowl of water, squatted down, and trembled as he handed it to the young fairy, saying, "Fairy girl, please take a sip of water first. When Lang Zhong comes, you will be cured of your illness." The girl fairy vaguely received water, unable to catch it, and the bowl fell off. Ding Yongfu instinctively reached out to pick up the bowl. Ding Yongfu was already having difficulty with his legs and feet, so he couldn't catch it. Instead, he fell onto the young girl fairy. Ding Yongfu was intoxicated. The girl fairy is more proactive in her confusion. There's no other way, Ding Yongfu can only help her with a small favor. At this moment, a high-pitched but anxious shout came from outside. Junior sister, where are you? If you hear what I'm saying, you should give a shout. The young fairy's eyes were closed, her mouth hesitant. Ding Yongfu said to himself, when the senior brother of the fairy comes, seeing this beautiful scene, he will definitely not tolerate it for a moment. It will make my world evaporate in an instant. Ding Yongfu hurriedly shouted softly, "Fairy girl, don't answer. Your daughter's chastity is much more precious than my life." Then I smelled a hurried step, coming from far to near, straight towards the thatched hut. Ding Yongfu struggled to stand up and walked to the back of the haystack, revealing a narrow grass hole. At a critical moment, Ding Yongfu remembered his grandson's love for playing. These days, after autumn harvest, he made a straw hole in the straw stack of the straw shed and played hide and seek with his grandfather. Ding Yongfu scolded him. Unexpectedly, this grass hole can have a significant impact. Ding Yongfu whispered to the young fairy, "I have wronged you. I will send you inside to hide." The young fairy's body was hot and her head was highly drowsy, but her subconscious was still intact. What else can a young fairy do? Not to mention the grass hole, it's just a crevice on the ground that I wish I could penetrate. After the young girl fairy entered the cave, Ding Yongfu held her clothes and stuffed them in. The heavy footsteps of the young girl's senior brother sounded like they were ringing in my ear. Ding Yongfu picked up the girl's sword again and inserted it into another patch of grass. Then, quickly hugging his clothes, he hurriedly ran into the grass hole, picked up the grass with his hands, and covered the hole. Ding Yongfu was getting old and couldn't rest well. In an emergency, he made so many movements in a row that he was so tired that he gasped for breath and made heavy breathing sounds. The girl instinctively frightened and gently covered his mouth with her jade hand. Ding Yongfu was breathing quietly without making any sound. Fortunately, everything was settled and the girl's senior brother finally stepped into the thatched hut. Upon hearing the young girl's senior brother searching around in the thatched shed, he urgently called out, "Junior sister, where are you? Tang-san is chasing after you closely. Junior sister, you must not run alone. Senior brother is by your side, so you have some kind of support. The grass cave is narrow and alone, unable to accommodate oneself. Now the two are inside, squeezing together. At the same time, the poison of love flowers in the girl's body erupted once again. This poison has never stopped since its inception, just a peak of toxicity, one after another, like waves. At this point, her senior brother had already been found outside the grass cave. Chapter 2. Do I love you so deeply? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the haystack, the young girl's senior brother cried out with a crying voice, "Pearl, junior sister. Don't scare me. Don't let your hair dye with poison. Senior brother regrets it. Senior brother shouldn't take you to the Tang family just to complete the task." Its meaning is profound and very touching. The old and young in the grass cave were forced to endure, unable to listen at all. My senior brother was cursing, "Just poison me. Damn it, Tang-san, even though he is greedy for his junior sister's beauty, he will also poison you." Senior brother quickly searched inside the thatched hut twice, but found nothing. He let out a long sigh and said, "Alas, let's search elsewhere. I need to find junior sister before Tang-san comes." If senior brother pays more attention, he will always find some clues. For example, blood stains on the grass, messy straw covering the grass hole, and so on. Senior brother Ko was forced by the enemy and had a quick temper. He didn't pay close attention and hurriedly left. The two people inside the grass cave were suffocating and unable to breathe. I heard my senior brother come back to Changsheng Huangdi. In the distance, there was a proud roar. The world-renowned Tianjiao Changchengli is blowing like a god, but that's all. He was chased by Mi Tang-san and fled. Ding Yongfu forcefully suppressed it. Although the girl was so burned that her head was about to explode, there was still a hint of clarity in the darkness that prevented her from making any sound. Senior brother Changchengli did not show weakness and responded coldly, "It's not that I, Changchengli, have lost 3/4 of my martial arts. Even if you poison me, I won't be afraid of you for half. Anyway, come on, there must be a resolution. I was just about to seek you to kill you and avenge my junior sister." Only for a moment, chasing the enemy. Ding Yongfu heard a person howling towards him, probably Tang-san. Tang-san entered and first patrolled everywhere. After seeing nothing, he angrily asked, "Where is the water fairy? Where did you hide her? You hand over the water fairy, and I will release you." Changchengli's teeth itched with hatred and angrily rebuked, "What are you? I made friends with you, but you harmed me. You still want to conspire with my junior sister, dream it. Junior sister is mine, it's Changchengli's." Tang Sanfan rebuked Changchengli and said, "Are you making friends with me? Where are you from? You don't know yourself. You approached me to seek my second brother's Guiyuan immortal pill. Where does my second brother have any Guiyuan immortal pill? I hate you for being ignorant and deliberately letting me see the water fairy, making me fascinated by her. Do you think I can't see it?" Ding Yongfu listened to Tang San's young voice and estimated it to be similar to Qin Chang's age, over 20 years old. Upon hearing Tang San talk about his second brother, it suddenly occurred to him that his own family, also surnamed Tang, had a third brother who was practicing immortality. Could it be this Tang San? When the meaning is connected before and after, it is mostly him. Tang San suddenly raised his voice and said, "Your plan was successful. As soon as I saw the water fairy, I was fascinated by her. I am willing, I am crazy about it. She is so beautiful, not to mention the fairies in the world, no one can match her. I love her." Changchengli snorted coldly, "Don't say these words. Do you love her? Why did you poison her? Do you love her as deeply as I do? I keep fighting and fighting, just to be worthy of her." The heartfelt love words of two young men captivate every girl. But at this moment, the fairy water pearl had been poisoned by the poison, causing confusion and losing its sanity. She is toxic in her body is suffocated, she breathes heavily, and the aroma of her mouth sprays into the narrow space. Ding Yongfu feels uncomfortable. The straw inside the grass hole rustled. Chen Changli jumped over and shouted loudly, "Junior sister, are you there?" Tang San immediately followed and said, "Miss Mingzhu, you miss me so much. Are you here?" Ding Yongfu and Shui Mingzhu were not hiding tightly inside a pile of straw. In a hurry, how can one be dense and solid everywhere? Outside the haystack, as long as you are a little careful, you can definitely discover more traces. Ding Yongfu and the girl heard each other's hearts beating loudly. Fortunately, the old cow from the Ding family entered the thatched shed at some point and sat next to this haystack, chewing on the straw and humming twice. Chen Changli and Tang San were relieved. It turned out to be the sound of grass caused by the yellow cattle in the farmhouse's farmland. But the tightly knit hearts of Ding Yongfu and the girl were unable to relax. As Tang San pondered, he said, "It's strange that I have been deeply poisoned. Even those who cultivate immortals cannot resist it. Miss Mingzhu shouldn't have gone too far. When she arrives near this place, she will explode. How could she not be found? She will never hide in the grass, and luck will drive her to poison. This person has a dark personality, and even these thoughts and words make people feel gloomy and cool." Then Tang San Gongzi patted the grass stacks on both sides with his hands. "Miss Shui, are you there?" Upon hearing that Tang San Gongzi was about to arrive at his hiding place, Ding Yongfu thought to himself and said, "My life is at rest. I have traveled through this world, and unfortunately, I have become an old man, feeling extremely sad several times. In the end, I calmed down and decided to practice qi for longevity. Unexpectedly, I did not succeed in practicing qi, but on the brink of death, I met the Mingzhu girl, and it can be said that the heavens have treated me well. After all, I passed away." After Ding Yongfu passed away as an old man, he was extremely unwilling and wanted to save his life. He even wanted to pursue immortality. He picked up the qi cultivation method that Ding Yongfu had learned in his childhood and practiced it whenever he had time. Unfortunately, there has always been no progress. Ding Yongfu also felt the heart of Shui Mingzhu beating violently, as if it was about to burst out. Ding Yongfu sighed inwardly and said, "Alas, it's just that it has tarnished the reputation of Miss Mingzhu." Just as Ding Yongfu thought he was going to die, he heard Chen Changli angrily draw his sword and stab Tang San Gongzi with it. Tang San Gongzi was already on guard and raised his sword to defend himself. Chen Changli was furious and said, "Tang San, you are despicable. You just poisoned me. Why did you poison my junior sister? She has weak martial arts and cannot force out toxins like me." Tang Sangong sneered and said, "Oh, no wonder there's still a bit of energy left. As expected, it's famous all over the world. There are 2 brushes that can drive out a lot of my poison. If she has some ups and downs, I'll skin you alive, but I won't clear my grudge." Chen Changli's hatred was surging. During the conversation, the two engaged in a few rounds of fighting. The sword's intent is crisscrossing, and the straw flies wildly. Ding Yongfu and the girl's heart tightened again. If this grass flies again, won't it reveal everything? Tang Sangong sneered and said, "Am I so foolish? I love Mingzhu so much, I will harm her. Of course, I also gave her poison, but her poison is different. Your poison can kill people, her poison, just want her to belong to me." Chen Changli took a deep breath and said, "The poison of love flowers. Can you get it?" Tang Sangong sneered and said, "It seems that you are both experts in this world. You also know this poison. You can't blame me, it's just that you and Mingzhu are in agreement. I want to quickly destroy you and let Mingzhu follow me." Chen Changli couldn't help but unleash his ultimate move and then pounce forward. Tang San Gongzi knew that the opponent was using all his might and could not resist, so he quickly jumped out of the haystack inside the shed. Chen Changli caught up and fought hard. The two of them got together outside the shed. Fortunately, if two people are still fighting inside the shed will collapse. From the sound of fighting outside the shed, it could be heard that Changsheng was gradually exhausted after a hard blow. Chapter 3. Dying to Breath. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Tang Sangong exclaimed in a wild voice, Changsheng, aren't you famous? You have today too. You were already injured, and with my poison, your martial arts are not 1/10 of your peak. How can you defeat me? You should die. Shui Mingzhu couldn't help but murmur extremely softly, senior brother. The fragrance enveloped Ding Yongfu's entire head. Ding Yongfu then heard Changsheng snorting, you're almost trying to kill me. It seems that Changsheng threw some talismans or similar. Tang Sangongzi exclaimed in surprise, oh, there's fog everywhere, where are people? Ding Yongfu knew that the cultivation of immortals and the use of immortal talismans were indispensable, and in times of emergency, they could completely help themselves escape. Alas, cultivating immortals is so good, but unfortunately, when my lifespan is approaching, I still cannot cultivate qi. Next, the smoke should dissipate. Listening to Tang San muttering to himself, damn it, this guy's martial arts are not good, he can escape quickly. I need to go after him again, kill him, and not let the water fairy be with him. Tang San, the young master, was patrolling outside the thatched hut and muttered to himself, the pearl should not be here. If she were, she would have come out long ago to lend a helping hand to someone surnamed Chen. Even if she were poisonous, she would cry out loud. After all, she is a noble and righteous sect, and her martial arts may not be as weak as I imagined. She should stay away from this place. I need to hurry and find her when her toxicity is unbearable. Inside and outside the shed, return to tranquility. Only the old ox whispered, humming twice, as if reminding the old owner. The two people in the grass cave couldn't bear it long ago. The grass cave collapsed. After a while, Ding Yongfu was out of breath and leaned against another grassy mountain, collapsing into a ball like mud. On the beautiful and charming face of Shumingzhu, 2 lines of clear tears flow. Shui Mingzhu shouted softly, senior brother. Senior brother. Where have you been? Dad, Mom, I want to go home. At a glance of Shumingzhu's bright eyes, there was no such thing as a charming senior brother, no such thing as an elegant and smiling father and mother. All he saw was an old man with wrinkles on his face, a dry body, and dirty sludge on his legs. Shui Mingzhu suddenly became angry and found her long sword. She walked over and stabbed Ding Yongfu with a sword. Ding Yongfu is a person who travels through time, with a high IQ and predictive ability. He has long seen through the mind of the water pearl. Ding Yongfu is not unguarded by this sword, but he is exhausted and weak, with no strength to dodge. Ding Yongfu simply embraced his dying heart and accepted it calmly. Ding Yongfu grinned his old mouth covered in white beard and said calmly, Miss, you should kill me. Damn it. Ding Yongfu thought, after his death, can he still travel through time? After crossing over again, you cannot let yourself wear the old man again. Be sure to travel young. Actually. I want to be an ambitious young man. Ding Yongfu was determined to die, but let Shui Mingzhu give up. Shumingzhu stomped and threw her sword, crying. Ding Yongfu comforted her and said, Fairy. Listen to me, it's not my fault, nor is it your fault. Tang Sangongzi has also said about the poison of love flowers in you. Anyone? Ding Yongfu was panting heavily. The fairy angrily said, Shut up. The young fairy felt that talking to this old man with chicken skin and white hair was insulting to herself. As the young fairy spoke, her eyes flickered and she noticed a bright red hue on the golden straw beneath her. The young girl and fairy knew what was going on and couldn't help but mourn greatly, crying even louder. Ding Yongfu looked at the blood and felt an immense sense of happiness in his heart. I can't help but remind the fairy, I'm afraid someone else is coming. The young girl fairy actually listened to this sentence. She covered her face with her hands and suppressed her crying. Ding Yongfu felt sad for her and didn't know how to comfort her. Ding Yongfu closed his eyes, panting heavily and feeling exhausted. It's tiring than farming. The more you worry about something, the more it becomes. Words can be heard from afar. Water pearls react quickly and quickly dress. She was thoughtful and even picked up Ding Yongfu's tattered clothes with a sword, throwing them to him. Several people have arrived, approaching, you can hear the sound of speech clearly. The first thing I heard was actually Changsheng, the senior brother of Shui Mingzhu. This person has been here twice, this is the third time. Changsheng's towering voice said, "You idiot said you're in this shed. I've been here twice before, but I've never noticed anything. Don't make any jokes, otherwise I'll displease you and kill the three of you with one sword." I heard an adult female voice answering with fear, "My dad said he's here. He's stupid, but he can't tell lies. Please rest assured, fairy." Ding Yongfu was exhausted, but his mind was clear. He said to himself, "My great-granddaughter has come with her father." Then the foolish grandson said without a word, "I didn't say." Lie, it was. Didn't say. Later, the person who attacked me even said that my family would send someone to his house to do something. To pay off the debt. Ding Yongfu's grandson, who is in his 40s, fell ill 20 years ago and became a fool. Another trembling voice immediately said, "Master, calm down. It's none of my business. I'm just a doctor who was called by the Ding family. Either I'll leave." Changsheng became even angrier and said, "Are you leaving? Do you still want to leave after you come?" As they said, "My junior sister fell to the ground due to illness. Can you not treat her? I will send you to death first." The doctor was so frightened that he quickly said, "The immortal said, I won't leave, I'll go with you now." Suddenly, a young man appeared in a thatched hut. Dressed in a white shirt, with a straight body, a head of jet black hair, amazed starry eyes, a straight nose and thin lips, handsome and noble. Without a doubt, this person should be the senior brother of the Water Pearl and the world-renowned young immortal hero Changsheng. As soon as Changsheng entered, he urgently shouted, junior sister, are you here? I've been here before, why can't I see you?" Unexpectedly, at first sight, I saw a disheveled old man who was gasping for breath, dressed in disheveled clothes and buttoned the wrong buttons. He was half lying in the messy grass next to the old cow, which immediately dampened my mood. Changsheng became angry and said, "Who are you and why are you here?" The grandson and great-granddaughter of Ding Yongfu, who came in immediately, burst into tears when they saw Ding Yongfu's lifeless appearance. "Grandpa, what's wrong with you? Are you dying?" "Grandpa, as I said, at your age, you can't come over to cultivate land. If you don't listen, you'll fall to the ground and not be able to stand up." The doctor who came was an acquaintance of Ding Yongfu and said, "Mr. Ding, I will treat a fairy. It turns out that you are about to pass away. You are getting old, how will you treat your illness?" Ding Yongfu said discontentedly, "What are you talking about? I'm still alive. I'm just tired, take a break. I don't want to see a doctor." But the great-granddaughter insisted on the doctor taking care of the grandfather's pulse. Lang Zhonggang squatted next to Ding Yongfu, and Ding Yongfu pushed him with his remaining strength, saying, go away, what pulse do I want? I don't want it." Changsheng asked strangely, "What kind of strange old man are you? I've been here twice and haven't seen you. Answer honestly, don't hide it, otherwise I'll kill you with one sword." Ding Yongfu gasped for breath and said, "I am farming outside, and you immortals are fighting swords here. I dare not speak. After you leave, I will enter the shed to catch my breath for a while." At this moment, Shumingsu walked in from outside the shed. Chapter 4. A Family Trembling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The water pearl is delicate and elegant, with a radiant appearance. The 5 people in the shed, who had seen the water pearl, were once again amazed by her beauty. The granddaughter of Lang Zhonghe in Ding Yongfu, who had never seen the water pearl before, looked blankly at her. What a stunning beauty! As soon as Shui Mingzhu saw her senior brother Qin Changli, tears streamed down her face and she murmured softly, "Senior brother, senior brother." Her senior brother couldn't believe his own eyes. "I thought I lost my junior sister today, but I never expected to regain what I lost." Senior brother was so excited. A big man's eyes were filled with tears and he choked up, saying, "Mingzhu, you don't know I haven't found you, and my heart has been lost somewhere." Senior brothers and sisters almost hugged each other and cried bitterly. When the senior brother reached out to embrace the junior sister, Shui Mingzhu stepped back slightly. "Senior brother, please stop." Fortunately, there was almost no marriage between men and women. Ding Yongfu's eyes were dazed as he saw this clearly, and a wave of jealousy surged in his heart. Chen Changli happily asked Shui Mingzhu, "Where are you? Why can't I find you?" Shui Mingzhu lied without making a draft and said, "After we ran out of Tang San's banquet, we separated and inexplicably ran to this place, accidentally falling. I think I might have been poisoned, so I immediately went outside to find a secluded place to sit and practice. That's not the end. I saw several people walking into this shed from afar, one of whom looked very much like a senior brother. So I came over to take a look, and it turned out to be a senior brother. Senior brothers and sisters all say that they are extremely fortunate." Senior brother sighed and said that the martial arts of the Shui family are extensive and profound, and should be able to treat poison. After hearing that Tang San Gongzi had poisoned the water pearl with love flowers, Chen Changli became increasingly uneasy. At the same time, to escape Tang San Gongzi's pursuit, he simply turned back, making it completely impossible for Tang San Gongzi to touch, and he could also find his junior sister. On the way, I accidentally met 2 people from the Ding family and their doctor. According to their description, the patient who fainted should be my junior sister. Chen Changli thought that he didn't expect this rural doctor to cure his junior sister well, but he could give some medicine to alleviate the symptoms. If the poison of the junior sister's love flower breaks out and they see it, it feels a bit awkward, but it's easy to handle. Just kill these 3 people. Now, seeing the water shining brightly, healthy and nourishing, Chen Changli completely let go of the stone on his heart. The 3rd young master of Tang may have lied and not given the poison of love flowers to the pearl of water. Is the poison in my junior sister the same as mine? However, the junior sister did not drink alcohol, and the dosage was much smaller than herself. In addition, with the water family's martial arts, she had already forced everything out. Senior brother Chen Changli breathed a long sigh of relief. After taking a big breath, Chen Changli naturally took a deep breath and smelled a faint strange smell. Chen Changli asked in surprise, "Junior sister, why is there a strange odor coming out of you? It's very light, a bit like the smell of a cow." Shui Mingzhu's face was a bit flustered. She glanced over and met the gaze of Ding Yongfu who had peeked over. Shui Mingzhu immediately glared fiercely at Ding Yongfu. Shui Mingzhu said to Chen Changli, "This place is too dirty. There are cows and cow dung everywhere, all with this smell. I really want to take a good shower." Chen Changli sighed and said, "Junior sister, you have suffered. You are full of shame and shame. Poor you, who loves cleanliness so much." The doctor asked Ding Yongfu's great-granddaughter, who is treating the illness. Ding Yongfu's granddaughter is over 20 years old and is black, thin, and short in stature. But compared to an old man and a fool in the Ding family, she is more like a mastermind. The fool said, "It's a fairy. I watched the fairy faint." Everyone looks at the water pearl. Although Shumingzhu is in a bad mood, her complexion is good, her face is radiant, and she has no connection with the patient. Chen Changli rebuked the crowd and said, "What are you always looking at me for? You ordinary people don't have eyes, do you? My junior sister looks sick. If she is sick, can you ordinary doctors treat her? Let's go, you all leave. My junior sister just wants to be quiet. As soon as Changsheng spoke, the 3 members of the Ding family and the doctor quickly left. The immortal who cultivates immortals is prone to killing people. It's best to leave him. Ding Yongfu's waist was sore and his legs were weak, making it difficult to walk. He was supported by his grandson and granddaughter, one on the left and one on the right. Outside the thatched hut, the doctor kindly said, "Old man, I see you are really sick. I'll accompany you to your house and show you." Unexpectedly, Ding Yongfu's reaction was even greater. He blew his beard and widened his eyes, saying, "What are you looking at? This time you're on a visit, I'll give you some money next time. I'm not sick, so hurry up and leave." Lang Zhong said goodbye to the Ding family. Ding Yongfu's great-granddaughter said, "Grandpa, later I met the Tang family and said that my family would send someone to their place to pay off their debts." Ding Yongfu did not answer his granddaughter's question. Ding Yongfu's thoughts flew to the water pearl. Mingzhu, don't think of me as an elderly person. Actually, my actual age is similar to your senior brother. Of course, aside from age, you are a noble fairy, and although I am a traveler, I have achieved nothing, and we are not compatible. However, God pities me and let us be together. Although time is short, it is the greatest happiness of my life." Ding Yongfu muttered in his heart. Ding Yongfu used an excuse to say to look at the old cow and turned to look in the direction of the thatched hut. The sun is setting in the west, and the 2 figures are moving in the opposite direction, one in front and the other behind. One of them, slender and graceful, exudes a golden halo of sunshine, which is intoxicating. Ding Yongfu is infinitely melancholy. Farewell to Shumingsu now. There are no regrets in this life. Suddenly, Ding Yongfu trembled all over. Ding Yongfu's grandson and great-grandson followed his gaze, and the figures of the 2 immortals turned back and walked towards them. The adobe house of the Ding family has gray-yellow walls and a low roof, which is dilapidated. The courtyard is covered in mud, which is usually okay and can be considered as hard mud. When it rains, it becomes muddy and difficult to walk. The corner of the Tuyuan is covered with moss. In the courtyard of the Ding family, in front of the main house, there is a table covered with a clean snow-white tablecloth and several exquisite dishes of delicious food placed. These decorations and food were all purchased by the Ding family at the expense of Changsheng. Even if Changsheng and his junior sister are fleeing and evading the pursuit of various enemies, the necessary attention is still needed. These are not extravagant. The environment is still poor, there is no other choice but to make do with it. Changsheng sat leisurely behind the table, ready to wait for the water pearl to bathe and enjoy delicious wine and food together. Ding Yongfu, along with the other 7 members of his family, sat on the ground at the other end of the yard, listening to the fairy's teachings in fear. Changsheng didn't even look at the Ding family and said, "My junior sister and I are staying at your house. I want to warn you and keep it highly confidential. Neither of you can disclose any information to the outside world. Otherwise, it's simple. I will kill your whole family. You won't suspect that I can't do it, will you?" Ding Yongfu's family remained silent and trembling. "Your old master, as well as the 2 fathers and daughters who have been to the thatched hut today, know that my junior sister and I have had a holiday with your boss, Tang San, the 3rd younger brother of Tang Yuanwei. I told you clearly that Tang San is chasing me and his junior sister everywhere. Where did he find us?" Chapter 5. 2 Plowing Fields. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Changsheng continued, "He never dreamed that my junior sister and I were hiding under his nose. A very ordinary tenant farmer's family. Haha. My junior sister and I were already injured before coming here. We can take this opportunity to recover from our injuries. When we recover from our injuries, it will be time for me to capture your Tang San Gongzi. Chen Changli swung his hand down hard. Chen Changli's continued words made the Ding family ecstatic. During this period, I will bear the expenses. I will give you more silver to purchase various items. You just need to be careful not to reveal your wealth and try to diversify your shopping. After I recover from my injury, I will give your family a reward of 10 taels of silver. The Ding family let out a surprised sigh. Not to mention silver, even 100 won is usually a huge sum of money. I owe my boss 500 won, but I haven't paid it back for many years. 10 taels of silver. This is worth 10,000 won. Days can be lived in a short period of time without having to endure hardship. The Ding family whispered and made a buzzing sound. The only head of the family, Ding Yongfu, is Ding Lao Tu, with his eyes tightly closed, and he remains silent. Chen Changli is not happy anymore. The fairy gave you money, although it is long-term, how can you not have an expression? Chen Changli rebuked, "Hey, you old man, you're the head of your Ding family. Why are you like a bodhisattva? I'm talking to you, how can you sleep?" The people of the Ding family hurriedly poked Ding Yongfu with their fingers. Ding Yongfu opened his eyes and quickly explained, "Please forgive me, immortal. I am old and have nothing to do with it, but I am very tired. I have plowed the fields twice today, and my whole body is weak." The person from the Ding family blamed and said, "You're so old, plowing once is enough. How can you plow twice in a row?" The Ding family pleaded with Chen Changli, saying, "If we plow our land twice, even young and middle-aged people can't bear it. Besides, my elderly person is 80 or 50 years old and is indeed physically tired. He can't help but doze off. It's not disrespectful to the immortal. Please forgive him." Chen Changli has not yet replied, and the right wing room makes a loud clattering sound. The right wing was originally the master room of the Ding family. After the expropriation of the Ding family by Shui Mingzhu and her senior brother, a new arrangement was made as a dedicated boudoir for Shui Mingzhu. Due to the lack of a dedicated bathroom in the Ding family, they brought their newly purchased bathtub into this room, poured in warm water at a moderate temperature, and provided water for Mingzhu to bathe. Shumingzhu had been washed inside for a long time, occasionally asking the women of the Ding family to add water and pour water. The dinner for the evening is ready, but there is no sign of the water pearl coming out yet. The Ding family dared not ask when they would finish washing, but Chen Changli cautiously shouted softly in the courtyard, "Junior sister, it's time for dinner. Are you ready to wash it?" Before finishing speaking, the impatient voice of the junior sister came from the right wing room. "Don't worry, you eat, I don't eat. You go away a bit, I'll take a shower inside." The sound of my junior sister taking a bath made me feel embarrassed to let the man listen. Despite the fact that the earthen courtyard is relatively small, the wing rooms are dilapidated, and there is not much sound insulation, always listening more. Apart from Ding Yongfu knowing the real reason for Shui Mingzhu's irritability, the Ding family and Chen Changli both think that it is only natural for Shui Mingzhu to be injured this time, have suffered hardships, and be in a bad mood. Therefore, although Shui Mingzhu said she wouldn't eat, Chen Changli patiently waited for her, while the Ding family, even though hungry, insisted on waiting calmly and patiently. The right wing room had been relatively quiet for a while, and the sound of water was also relatively low. In order to avoid boredom, Chen Changli read out various regulations he had formulated to the Ding family. Chen Changli emphasized the issue of confidentiality in living in this house, which caused Ding Yongfu to discuss the topic of farmland twice. As a result, he immediately heard a loud commotion in the right wing room. It's not that Shumingzhu fell due to her weak body. Because although she is in a bad mood, the toxicity has been cleared and her body has basically recovered, even looking healthier than before. It seems that Shumingzhu is angrily throwing the water ladle in her hand towards the bathtub and then throwing it onto the ground. The people in the yard were momentarily unaware of where her anger came from. Even her senior brother dared not ask each other and allowed her to throw water ladles in the room. Changsheng spread his hand and muttered to himself, I didn't say anything. What was mentioned earlier? It's just that the old man said he plowed the fields twice. Why did junior sister catch fire? The Ding family shook their heads, unable to understand. Only Ding Yongfu smiled inwardly. After the sound of Shiming's attack subsided for a while, Changsheng dared to ask again, is junior sister okay? Are you ready to wash? Come out for dinner, okay? Everyone is waiting for you. I didn't say it, I don't eat it. Don't ask me, Shui Mingzhu replied stiffly. Changsheng repeatedly said, okay, don't ask, I'll eat first. Changsheng personally prepared meals for his junior sister, then raised his chopsticks and started eating. It was already night and there was no moonlight. 2 lanterns were lit in the courtyard and placed on either side of the table, casting a dim yellow light on everyone in the courtyard. The Ding family watched eagerly as Changsheng ate alone. According to the rules set by Changsheng, the Ding family must wait for him and his junior sister to finish their meal before they can eat. Can be eaten from the leftovers of him and his junior sister. Changsheng took a bite and gave another command to the Ding family, can you clarify the rules I have set? The Ding family nodded their heads in unison. Changsheng said, there's one more thing I want to talk about. I heard your boss asking your family to send someone to his house to work, to offset a portion of the debt. Ding Yongfu, along with his grandson and granddaughter, didn't know why he was concerned about this matter, so he nodded again with a hint of excitement. Changsheng chuckled and said, you don't know, your boss, Tang Yuan, is celebrating his birthday and has invited guests from all walks of life. The house is very busy and urgently needs all kinds of miscellaneous work. I see that you are a younger woman and more flexible, so you can go. Changsheng pointed to Ding Yongfu's great-granddaughter. Ding Yongfu's great-granddaughter couldn't help but tremble. Changsheng asked why. Ding Yongfu's great-granddaughter replied that working at the Tang family is not only tiring, the Tang family is very fierce, whether it's the master or the third prince, the butler or servant, they are prone to hitting people. At this moment, the door of the right-wing room was pushed open with a creaking sound. A tall and beautiful woman appeared in front of everyone, like a blooming lotus. Wearing a pale blue dress, her skin shone like snow. She held a cloud made in her head, her eyebrows like distant mountains, and her eyes like autumn water. The water pearl is already unparalleled in beauty, and after taking a bath, it is even more stunning. Everyone present, including Changsheng, exclaimed in their hearts, how could there be such a beautiful girl in the world? After Ding Yongfu and Shui Mingzhu had a skin-to-skin relationship, their psychology has taken it to the next level. At this moment, looking at the water pearl, I'm crazy. You old ghost, do you have such a way of looking at people? Mrs. Ding, his wife, pushed him and muttered in a low, unhappy voice. Shiming's didn't let him go either. As soon as Shimu glanced at him, his gaze suddenly became fierce. Shui Mingzhu pointed her slender jade hand at Ding Yongfu and said with hatred, go to the Tang family to do some miscellaneous work. Tell this old man to go. Everyone was surprised. No one understands why the water fairy said this. Chapter 6. Spy Intelligence. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding Yongfu is in his 80s, in his twilight years. Cultivate a field in the field, take a break if you want, and you can still handle it. Going to my boss's place to do odd jobs, always busy, afraid of breaking down in just 1 or 2 days. Changsheng hesitated and said, is this? Can this old man bear it? Shui Mingzhu said very quickly, didn't this old man plow the fields twice today? He's very solid and some household chores can't tire him out. Besides, calling such an old man to die is the least likely to arouse suspicion from the Tang family. The last sentence touched Changsheng's heart. Changsheng patted the table and said, Junior sister, that's a great idea. The rest of you should go outside the yard and rest. I'll tell the old man about some things. Ding Yongfu was crying and laughing inside, and Mingzhu naturally knew the meaning of what she meant by plowing the fields twice. Revenge immediately came. The other members of the Ding family were hungry and strolled outside the yard. Chen Changli patiently explained the whole story to Ding Yongfu while eating. Chen Changli did not simply ask Ding Yongfu to do odd jobs, but had a special purpose. Chen Changli first briefly introduces his identity with Shui Mingzhu. He and Shui Mingzhu are both disciples of a world-renowned immortal sect. I won't tell you what kind of immortal sect it is. You're an old farmer in the countryside, but you don't know. Anyway, I'll tell you, I have a reputation in the martial arts world. Chen Changjian said, taking a sip of tea. As for the water pearl, it is even more remarkable. Shumingzhu rarely travels in the martial arts world and is less well known. We came out together this time to gain experience, but Miss Shui's background is even more frightening. Miss Shui is the saint of our sect and also a member of the Cultivation family. I won't say much about that. Do you know about the saint? I'm sorry, this old man is in his 80s and has heard of it for the first time. Unexpectedly, Ding Yongfu said honestly, I know that the saint holds a high position in the sect and is an outstanding figure of the younger generation. How could Ding Yongfu not know the word saint? Before crossing over, the Cultivation novels were not for nothing. Ding Yongfu was amazed that this time he had grown up and even had connections with the saints of the Daxingmen. Ding Yongfu's heart was sweet when he remembered it, and he couldn't help but sneak a peek at the water pearl. Coincidentally met the bright gaze of Shumingzhu. Shui Mingzhu really hates this old man. Needless to say, the gaze immediately became capable of killing. Startled, Ding Yongfu quickly closed his eyes and did not make eye contact with the fierce saint. Ah, Miss Shui, actually, I'm not as bad as you see. In terms of actual age, I'm a perfect match for you. Ding Yongfu sighed inwardly. Chen Changli gave Ding Yongfu a serious look and spoke in a long voice, I never expected that you, an old man, would know one or two things. You deserve to live for so long. Chen Changli continues to introduce. Chen Changli, along with Shui Mingzhu, the sect, and some experts from the Shui family, came to the state of Chu this time to carry out a special mission. It was said to be a special task, but in reality it was relatively easy, so even Miss Shumingzhu, a saint who usually doesn't go out easily, came together. Why? Because the process of thinking is not complicated or dangerous, the senior members of the sect let Shui Mingzhu come out for training. Not going out for a walk, always closing the door and practicing at home, some realms are difficult to break through. Who would have thought that something happened this time? Being ambushed by the enemy in advance, and on the enemy's side, a large number of unknown experts have arrived. After a big war, the sky and the earth were dark, and our own people fell one after another. As he spoke, Chen Changli choked up in his throat, unable to control himself. Shumingzhu also began to sob. Chen Changli actually doesn't need to say so much detail to Ding Yongfu, he is more of regretting and lamenting himself. Anyway, the old man in front of us is too weak. Even if we know the details, we cannot threaten our own side. You should know that everyone in the Ding family can be considered hostages. If anyone in the Ding family disobeys, kill them. Ding Yongfu felt infinite sympathy upon hearing this. Poor water saint. On my first trip, I suffered such misfortune. Ding Yongfu forgot his identity for a moment, stood up, and walked to the long table. Shui Mingzhu quickly called out, what are you doing here? You're so dirty, what do you want to do? Ding Yongfu said awkwardly, seeing that you two are sad, I would like to pour you a cup of tea. Chen Changli stopped feeling sad and waved his hand, saying, you go over quickly. If you don't think about who you are, and who are Miss Shui and I. It's not even your turn to serve, so we'll call you when we need it. If it's okay, you just go and stay a distance from us. Don't get close to us. We are noble immortals, and you are vulgar mortals. You should also talk more about this with your family in the future. Ding Yongfu returned and sat down on a small stool about 3 meters away from the two of them. Chen Changli said that although he and Shui Mingzhu escaped, they both suffered internal injuries. After recuperation, although their physical appearance had recovered, most of their internal strength had been lost. Otherwise, Tang San Gongzi and the like are far from opponents. Chen Changli and Shui Mingzhu are not far from the Tang family. Thinking of the treasure pill that Tang Yuanwei had collected, Chen Changli had an idea. So he approached Tang Sangong, the younger brother of Tang Yuanwei. Unexpectedly, when Tang San saw the water pearl, he immediately became enamored with it and saw through Chen Changli's intentions, so he poisoned and chased after him. You can listen to these processes while farming outside the thatched shed. Fortunately, you are lucky. Neither Tang San nor I had the intention to discover you, otherwise you would be a corpse now. Although the intentions of Chen Changli and Shui Mingzhu were discovered by Tang San, the plan to take Tang family pills cannot be changed. Go to the Tang family and explore 2 things with your heart. First, find out where the Tang family's pills are hidden. The study outside of Tang Yuan must be a key point. Second, where the pills are hidden, are there any hidden experts or nearby mechanisms? When I can save time, I will take action and fall into the opponent's trap instead. As he spoke, Chen Changli sighed and said, if I haven't lost my internal strength, I'll just go and retrieve it. Now that my internal injury hasn't healed, I can only be careful everywhere. Sigh. Chen Changli looked forward from me and saw Ding Yongfu shrinking, occasionally tilting his head and getting angry. Did you hear what you said? Are you dozing off? I'll tell you, if you don't complete the task I assigned you, I'll kill one of your family members every few days. I'll see if you're not doing your best. Ding Yongfu hurriedly said, listen, I'm listening. The immortal calms down. Chen Changli said to Shui Mingzhu, this old man has only plowed the fields twice today and has been working hard like this. Can we ask him to go to the Tang family to investigate? Don't be caught by the Tang family for a while. Upon hearing this, Shui Mingzhu's unnamed anger surged and she stood up and walked towards the room, shouting loudly, why not? Her health is very good. If the Tang family finds out, they can kill her. A terrible old man, if he dies, he will die. After Shui Mingzhu entered the room, she slammed the door with a loud bang. Ding Yongfu smiled bitterly in his heart. The idea of this water saint is almost like using a knife to kill someone. Chen Changli sighed and said, Junior sister has encountered several major changes recently and her mood has been extremely bad. Women are in a bad mood, much more ruthless than men. You should be clever when you go to the Tang family tomorrow. Ding Yongfu let out a sigh and thought to himself that he would become a spy tomorrow. What kind of danger would he encounter? Chapter 7. Madam Bai Bai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Ding Yongfu walked towards the Tang family. Tang's residence is located in the county town, about 10 kilometers from the village where Ding Yongfu is located. Ding Yongfu had a good time walking. Although autumn is cool, when I arrived at the Tang mansion, my body was already sweating. The Tang dynasty mansion has high walls and a large courtyard, and when viewed from the outside, it is full of overlapping and imposing eaves. It is unknown how many buildings are inside. Indeed, he is the leading tycoon in the county town. On both sides of the vermilion gate of the Tang mansion, there are gatekeepers dressed in strong attire. As soon as Ding Yongfu, an old man from the countryside, approached, the gatekeeper glanced sideways. Ding Yongfu was so shocked that he couldn't stand it, and silently walked to the side. Although Ding Yongfu is a traveler, the original owner has always been an honest and timid rural old man who cannot change his habits for a while. Ding Yongfu also cursed himself for not being competitive. Why doesn't he have any confidence? Still a traveler. Well, perhaps in the future, there will be an opportunity to learn how to cultivate immortality from Shumingzhou and become a cultivator, so that one can be at ease. The gatekeeper still didn't let go of Ding Yongfu as he walked over and scolded, "This is the Tang family courtyard. Why are you wandering around here? Let's go, let's go." Fortunately, the sturdy servant who had been to the thatched hut yesterday walked out from inside. The servant pushed Ding Yongfu and stumbled, recognizing him. Ding Yongfu told him about the situation. This servant naturally refused at first. "At such an old age, who wants you to come? I don't know if to switch to a younger one. There are many younger generations in your family." Until Ding Yongfu stuffed 10 went into him, this Ding family smiled and smiled. The money was given to Ding Yongfu by Changsheng last night. He had already anticipated this situation, and couldn't ignore his junior sister's instructions, so he had to start with money. The sturdy servant asked Ding Yongfu to wait first, and he went in to talk. "I don't know to whom," he said. Anyway, Ding Yongfu successfully entered the Tang mansion to work. The steward asked him to carry water. Others carry 20 loads of water a day, but when they are old, they only carry 12 loads. From a well on the back mountain of the Tang mansion backyard to the kitchen. You can still pay wages, and you can get 1 cent for 3 loads of water. 12 dan of water a day is 4 won. However, this money is not given in cash and will be recorded in the account to offset the debt owed by the Ding family. The host doesn't care about food. If there is any extra leftover food, you can give it to him. Ding Yongfu is satisfied. But on the first day of exhaustion, people can't bear it. It seems that all the water is being carried and poured in the Tang mansion, but this Tang mansion is very large, and carrying a load of water is quite sorrowful. After finally picking up the water, I have to walk a long mountain road to get home. Returning home, it was almost midnight. If you don't have time to eat, report to Changsheng in Shui Mingzhu first. Changsheng made a rule that when Ding Yongfu returns every day, he must provide a detailed account of the completion of tasks for that day. Ding Yongfu is so exhausted that the task cannot be carried out at all. Changsheng and Shui Mingzhu could also understand, not scolding him, but gently saying, "On the first day, you just need to adapt." The next day, still like this, Changsheng's face darkened and he said, "No matter what, you should pay attention to the speed of carrying water. Only by picking quickly can one have free time to inquire about intelligence." On the third day, Ding Yongfu became familiar with the terrain and his speed increased significantly. At dusk, he picked 9 dan of water. I was planning to finish the task in one go, but I was so tired that I couldn't catch my breath. After pouring water into the water tank in the kitchen, I sat outside on a stone bench, leaning on a pole to catch my breath. Suddenly, a strong fragrance came from afar. Ding Yongfu opened his eyes and saw a woman in her 20s, with a stunning appearance. She wore peony flowers in a bun and a light purple gauze shirt, coming in one after another. This beauty is not only gorgeous, but what leaves a deep impression is that her skin is particularly fair and tender, like freshly peeled freshwater chestnuts. Her fair skin not only makes her more beautiful and stunning, but also brightens the surrounding scenery. Although it was Ding Yongfu's first time visiting the Tang mansion, he had some knowledge about the family situation of his employer. There is a beautiful concubine outside the Tang family, who is particularly beautiful and has a white complexion that shines brightly. She is known as the White Lady and should be the daughter of this woman. Ding Yongfu looked at Madame Bai with admiration in his heart. Because I couldn't help but compare her to Shui Mingzhu in my heart, I looked at her a little longer. Ding Yongfu thought to himself, Madame Bai is a rare beauty in the world, renowned far and wide. However, compared to the water pearl, she still has some shortcomings in her special temperament. The brilliance of the water pearl can purify a man's soul at first sight. The beautiful woman who came here couldn't help but feel a surge of anger when she saw an old man standing here. It's not because the old man looked at her, but because he thinks this person is too old. Why did he still put a bucket of water at his feet and dare to carry water? As a housewife, she cannot be ignored. Madame Bai immediately summoned the kitchen steward and asked what was going on. Guests are arriving one after another, and you can't keep busy. Can we increase manpower, but we can't call an old man in his 80s to do things. What should we do if something happens? The kitchen manager quickly said that it was the servants who forced it over, so he drove it away. The kitchen manager immediately drove Ding Yongfu away. Ding Yongfu panicked. If Chen Changli and Shui Mingzhu cannot complete the task assigned, how can they face Shui Mingzhu? Although Shui Mingzhu hates herself to death, she is considered a relative by herself. Even though this job is extremely difficult and dangerous, I still have to find ways to step on it. But before I even start getting started, I will be driven away and have no chance of landing. Ding Yongfu pleaded and said, "Please be kind, madam. My family is in debt to our boss. I came to your house to fetch water, which will offset some of the money. I am still in good health and can handle it. Please don't rush me." Ding Yongfu, unlike other rural people, has a bit of flattery in his speech. It's not just a white crossing. Madame Bai frowned and said, "No way. It's your business if you don't have money, so hurry up and leave." Coincidentally, 2 more people arrived. The first one was a man in his 30s, with a small head and a fair face, walking thoughtfully. Ding Yongfu had never seen his boss before. Seeing this man's demeanor, he didn't even think about it, knowing that he was a member of the boss's Tang family. Tang Yuanwei kindly asked Madame Bai, "Madam, why are you angry when I hear you talking loudly from afar?" Madame Bai pointed to Ding Yongfu and said, "Look at how the people in your house do things. With so many guests, your servant is asking such an old person to fetch water and help." Tang Yuanwei said that this is a small matter, but if it makes my wife angry, it is a big matter. The second one is a young gentleman, who is handsome but always feels a sinister aura on his face, making people hesitant to approach. The young master's personality was indeed as Ding Yongfu had imagined. As soon as he arrived, he didn't hesitate to take action. He grabbed Ding Yongfu's ear and cursed, "What kind of old ghost, this is where you came from. Madam said she didn't want you, so why don't you leave quickly?" Ding Yongfu heard the voice of the third young master of Tang when he was in the grass cave. It was exactly the same tone. In fact, from his evil aura alone, it can be inferred that he is the third prince of Tang. Tang San Gongzi doesn't care if Ding Yongfu is an elderly person with heavy responsibilities. Ding Yongfu felt pain from eating and couldn't help but cry out. If driven out, intelligence will not be able to penetrate. Chapter 8. What are the rich and powerful playing with? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Madame Bai couldn't bear to look down and said, "Third young master, be gentle and don't harm this person." Madame Bai felt embarrassed and simply let go of her mouth, saying, "Let him continue to do it. Keep an eye on the kitchen, and if there's anything that doesn't work in the future, leave immediately." Ding Yongfu returned home, but Chen Changli and Shui Mingzhu did not rest. Let him talk about whether there is any progress. Senior brothers and sisters are eager to obtain the Tang family's elixir, but the 2 of them not only need to practice martial arts, but also have difficulty entering the Tang house. They can only rely on Ding Yongfu to see if he can obtain some useful information. With more effective information, it will be easier and safer for those who enter the government to steal treasures. Although relying on Ding Yongfu to spy cannot be relied on too much, hope must still be maintained. What if he finds out 1 or 2? Ding Yongfu explained in detail the situation of encountering 3 members of the Tang family in the kitchen. Chen Changli nodded and said, "Okay, I've made some progress. What Shumingzhu is particularly concerned about today is another matter." Shui Mingzhu asked Chen Changli, "I've heard of the beautiful name of Lady Bai outside of the Tang dynasty for a long time. Have you heard of it?" Chen Changli said, "Yes, I have heard people say many times that it is incredibly beautiful. Chen Changli suddenly noticed that Shui Mingzhu's face was unhappy, and he smiled awkwardly. He used an excuse to say, I went to the stove to fetch hot water, and I asked them all to go outside the yard. There was no one to refill the water. Chen Changli quickly left to prevent his junior sister's anger from escalating towards him. Chen Changli couldn't figure it out. As a gentle, kind, and understanding junior sister, why has she always had a big temper? It should be related to some unacceptable changes occurring. On the other hand, it may also be related to my recent busy cultivation and neglect of my junior sister. In the future, it is the most important thing to care about my junior sister as before, and even find opportunities to confess to her again. Chen Changli temporarily left, and Shui Mingzhu asked Ding Yongfu, how do you feel when you see Lady Bai today? Ding Yongfu answered honestly, it's really stunning, very white and beautiful. Shui Mingzhu patted the table and exclaimed in a coquettish voice, you old man, you haven't done anything serious all day long. You should do well in the important task assigned to you by my senior brother. Chen Changli couldn't help but extend his tongue while listening in the stove. Fortunately, I am temporarily retiring. The anger of my junior sister will be borne by the old man. Even better, listen to me. After all, junior sisters prioritize me. On this side of the room, Ding Yongfu saw the water pearl tapping his hand on the table. His spring onion and jade fingers were like orchids, white as condensed fat, and his heart was greatly moved. The scene of being with the water pearl appeared before me, and I couldn't help but reach out. Shui Mingzhu didn't even think about it. She slapped Ding Yongfu's old face with a jade hand, and then walked gracefully into her room. Ding Yongfu caressed his face in confusion. Chen Changli returned with a grateful heart and accused Ding Yongfu, who told you not to use your brain and casually say that other women are beautiful. It's up to you. You asked your family to come in. I'll go back to the room to practice martial arts. In the future, Ding Yongfu will go further. At the same time, 11 loads of water were already picked. I was hiding on the side panting when I heard a servant inquire about my whereabouts from the kitchen. Hey, an old man here who carries water for you, in his 80s, do you know where he went? The person in the kitchen extended their head to take a look and said, it's strange. He's bringing a load of water over, so it should be right here. Why didn't he see it? The person in the kitchen asked respectfully, Tang Wu, was it the third young master who called you here? The third young master is looking for that old man. Then a robust man with sparkling eyes appeared in front of Ding Yongfu. Tang Wu shouted, follow me, old man, third young master is looking for you. Ding Yongfu asked anxiously, do you dare to ask the third young master why he is looking for me? Tang Wu smiled mysteriously and said, what's going on? It's definitely a good thing. Ding Yongfu followed him and walked to the banquet hall of the Tang family. The Tang family is hosting a banquet to entertain the distinguished guests who have come from afar today. Before entering the banquet hall, I listened to cheerful songs and laughter coming from inside. Entering the interior, I saw a high fever and a large group of men, women, and men. The men all leaned against the green, drinking heavily and their ears burning hot. The banquet hall is full of ambiguous and beautiful smells. Ding Yongfu seriously suspected that Tang Wu had taken the wrong place and turned around to leave. Being blocked by Tang Wu, he sternly said, why, where are we going? Ding Yongfu said in a hoarse voice, this is where your old men play, isn't it wrong? Tang Wu pushed him in and said, that's right, that's it. Ding Yongfu was pushed into the banquet hall by Tang Wu and looked around anxiously. Discovering that everyone's movements had stopped, each person looked up and down at themselves with a unique gaze. Ding Yongfu's first feeling was, it's broken. I came here to spy and was leaked. The Tang family is going to torture me severely. It's just a bit strange, this doesn't seem like an interrogation environment. Each man hugged a beautiful woman and shot straight at Ding Yongfu, as if watching a strange trick. And these men and women are extremely impolite, feeling like they are looking down at Ding Yongfu. Ding Yongfu, who was over 80, could not help but blush. He felt self-consciously ashamed. His head was low, and he dared not look around. Ding Yongfu was puzzled, wondering what these wealthy and powerful people were playing with. I heard a sinister voice. Linghu boss, here we are, We are officially starting. This voice was familiar to me, and it was Tang San Gongzi. A strong and powerful voice said, okay, Tang San, you're good. You found someone so old. I think you're good, you can take a gamble. Yin Yang from my Linghu family, who are you afraid of? Yin Yang, please be prepared. Ding Yongfu gradually understood what these wealthy people wanted to play with. Did you specifically come over to let Yin Yang and me? Isn't it so absurd? A maid placed a chair behind Ding Yongfu, gesturing for him to sit down. There are also two maids, each holding a high candle and standing on either side of Ding Yongfu, so that any reaction can be clearly seen. Then, Boss Linghu waved his hand and said, Yin Yang, it's time for you to act. Observing the Boss Linghu, who is tall and has a beard on his face, he looks like a wealthy guest. A young and beautiful woman walked gracefully to the center of the banquet hall, just 2 meters away from Ding Yongfu. Yin Yang suddenly cast a seductive glance at Ding Yongfu, causing him to shiver all over. Continuing with the passionate music, Yin Yang bared her arms and abdomen, her figure swaying gracefully with the music, floating in ethereal. Ding Yongfu felt an itch in his heart as he watched. Even though he is old, which man is not young? But a few days ago, a lot of hard work has not been restored, and it is difficult to see a strong momentum. Listening to Tang San's wild laughter, he said, no response. Linghu boss, you have lost this time. King Muzi Fairy Dao, you are here today, and you have to testify. Do you see it clearly? A Taoist with a bone-like appearance in the green wind laughed heartily on the side and said, I have seen it carefully. This old man has no majestic appearance. Boss Linghu was unwilling and shouted wildly, Yin Yang, take out your kung fu. My 20 taels of silver. Chapter 9. Is not useless. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding Yongfu remained slightly alert amidst excitement. The game played by young Master Tang and Boss Linghu, with the interaction between Yin Yang and me as a bet, is actually betting on Yin Yang's allure value. Sorry, Boss Linghu, if you lose, I am powerless. Yin Yang looked at Ding Yongfu with seductive eyes, and said coquettishly, Xiangong, my old Xiangong. Then, Jiao turned around and sat over. In public, Ding Yongfu was extremely embarrassed, his old face flushed, and he didn't know what to say. Tang San laughed and said, Yin Yang, get up and let everyone see how the old man reacts. Yin Yang left Ding Yongfu. A pair of eyes shot towards Ding Yongfu. Ding Yongfu shook his hand in embarrassment and said, You. Here, I am. People burst into laughter. Tang San laughed wildly and said, Boss Linghu, you lost this time. Yin Yang's charm is almost there. Bring the money. I'm willing to accept the gamble. Boss Linghu scolded Yin Yang and asked, Yin Yang, what's wrong with you? You've been through countless battles, why can't you be an old man? Yin Yang scolded Ding Yongfu, you useless old man. Tang Sangong found it extremely interesting and proudly said, this is a tenant of my Tang family. He came to my house to fetch water and pay off his debt. Yesterday, I even thought this old man was too old and didn't expect him to make a big contribution today. Alright, there is someone from the Tang family. Tang Wu, tell his butler and reward this old man 10 won. Ding Yongfu is still confused. Tang Wu urged him and said, thank you to the young master as soon as possible. This is much stronger than carrying water. Ding Yongfu is not grateful either, nor is he not grateful. Thank you, there's no need to thank you. It's like playing with oneself. Don't thank you, after all, the other party is also considered the owner, and giving 10 yuan as an award is indeed more expensive than carrying water. Just sit here and let someone see, 2.5 days of wages are in hand. Ding Yongfu hesitated and felt uneasy. At this moment, a cracked silk-like scream suddenly came from outside. Everyone's attention immediately shifts. Tang Sangong jumped up first and shouted, "If there's a situation, come with me." Linghu boss followed closely behind and said, "It's okay, I'm here. This time, I'm here to help the Tang family." Everyone ran towards the place where they spoke out. It spread from the kitchen direction. Ding Yongfu took care of himself and hurried over afterwards. "My task is to scout the hidden place of the immortal pill, but I have been unable to approach the study in other places for the past few days. Forcibly heading there can easily arouse suspicion. There has been an unexpected situation, so I can take advantage of the chaos to observe and act accordingly," Ding Yongfu muttered to himself. However, when they arrived at the place where they screamed, they realized that the reason was very simple, as if there was no opportunity to take advantage of the chaos and move around. A maid walked into the kitchen to serve dishes and saw blood everywhere outside, screaming in shock, "That's all." And the reason was quickly identified. The servant immediately searched for a decapitated chicken by the pond next to the kitchen. Upon hearing the news, Tang Yuanwei and Lady Bai also arrived. Tang Yuanwei and Tang Sangong scolded the cook severely. The cook explained with grievance, "It wasn't me who killed the chicken. The chicken was killed long ago, before the kitchen was opened. Besides, if I kill the chicken, it's impossible to get all the blood on the ground." Everyone suddenly found it difficult to calm down. This should not be ordinary chicken killing, but someone deliberately provoked the Tang family. Tang Yuanwei sternly said, "Who is it? Is it my enemy?" Coincidentally, many high-level figures such as Boss Hu and Taoist Qinjiangzi came to visit, and the enemy was afraid. They made some trivial matters to disturb me. Tang Sangong shouted loudly and arranged for people to look around. Time is short, and the chicken killer should not have gone far. The Tang mansion was brightly lit, with people walking around everywhere. Ding Yongfu thought to himself, "I am worried about not having a chance, why not walk towards the study?" Kui thought, "No, at this point, the Tang family is watching closely and suspecting everyone. I have an old life, but I cannot easily give it up like this." Ding Yongfu continued to carry water and completed the unfinished work. After the water was picked, the Tang house also tended to be quiet. "Tell the servant guarding the gate to go home." Yan Yang flirted at the banquet hall, and Ding Yongfu was already a famous figure in the Tang dynasty mansion. The servant recognized him and let him go. "Report back home and first talk about the banquet hall." I didn't want to go into detail, but Chen Changli and Shui Mingzhu asked in detail, especially Shui Mingzhu, who went straight to the end to break through the clay pot. Ding Yongfu had no choice but to speak about all the processes before and after, without even concealing whether he had reacted. Chen Changli smiled and flipped back and forth, saying, "It's really delicious. Look, it's much more interesting for you to go fetch water than to farm at home. However, we men don't care if we listen to your words. In front of my junior sister, you don't need to say them too much." Ding Yongfu said helplessly, "The two immortals asked too honestly, I can't keep it hidden." Shui Mingzhu snorted and said, "I didn't expect you, this old man, to be an old pervert. It's just that you need to know everything, speak everything, and narrate everything in order to facilitate analysis. Ding Yongfu will reveal the story of killing a chicken again." Chen Changli, like Tang Yuanwei, was equally sensitive and said, "Don't look like it's just killing a chicken. It seems ordinary, but in reality, there may be others who will also take action, creating chaos first and targeting the elixir." Chen Changli pondered for a moment and couldn't sit still. He said, "Junior sister, I'll go out and take a look. I'm afraid someone might be watching us." Before Chen could finish speaking, he left the courtyard like the wind. According to Chen Changli's regulations, when Ding Yongfu reports, no matter what the other members of the Ding family are doing, they are all allowed to go outside the yard, and even not allowed to take a walk on the side of the yard wall. As Chen Changli left, there were only Ding Yongfu and Shui Mingzhu facing each other in the courtyard, standing and sitting side by side. Ding Yongfu stared at the Qiongzi flower appearance of Shumingzhu, feeling her lingering fragrance. He couldn't help but think of the beauty at that time and couldn't help but roll his throat. Shumingzhu, I wonder if she thought of the same scene, lowered her head, and a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. The air suddenly turned strange. Ding Yongfu said softly, I was old and thought I couldn't do it. In fact, that day I realized it wasn't like that. Today, Yen Yang's actions towards me weren't useless, but that day I was too crazy, overworked, and haven't recovered yet. Shui Mingzhu's reaction in this regard was not so fast. At first, he didn't know what Ding Yongfu was saying, but later he understood more and more. Suddenly, his anger surged up, he stood up, raised his pink hand, and didn't wait for Ding Yongfu to finish saying the word fu before slapping him in the face. This little girl is addicted to slapping her face. Shumingzhu is a cultivator and young, and Ding Yongfu cannot avoid it. A normal charge can knock Ding Yongfu unconscious with just one palm. Fortunately, Shui Mingzhu suddenly reduced his strength and hit Ding Yongfu in the face, which was even lighter than last night. This stopped somewhat on Ding Yongfu's wrinkled face. Ding Yongfu even felt tender. Ding Yongfu took a sharp breath, grabbed it, and quickly spoke his heart. Mingzhu, do you know? I don't think about your voice, face, and smile every day, every moment. Shui Mingzhu's jade face sank and she wanted to take out her hand, cutting off and saying, what does that mean? Chapter 10. Evil Men Report First. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding Yongfu shamelessly continued to say some nice things. Shui Mingzhu joked, you're an old farmer, you can still say these words. Ding Yongfu proudly said, actually, I still have many advantages. He still held on tightly. Shumingzhu Bingyan became angry and said, you let go first, let go quickly. Otherwise, I will hit someone again. At this moment, Chen Chanli returned and happened to see this scene. He asked suspiciously, what are you doing? Ding Yongfu was so scared that he let go and took a breath. He said, let the villain report it first. He said, tell the immortal, the water fairy will ask me more about the situation. I will explain it in detail, but I didn't expect the water fairy to wave her hand and hit me. My old bones can't withstand it, so I have to fight my life to block her. Chen Chanli did not wait for Ding Yongfu to finish speaking, as he had already arbitrarily concluded that what Ding Yongfu said was true. Shumingzhu's temper has been very strange these days, and it cannot be inferred from ordinary circumstances. Chen Chanli said to Shumingzhu in a joking tone. Younger martial sister, we cultivate immortals. We think our hands and feet are light. In fact, ordinary people can't stand it. One slap at random is enough to kill the old man. We will lose our eyeliner. Shui Mingzhu's chest swelled with anger and she said, oh, you don't understand. Chen Chanli smiled and shook his head with a look of, nothing I don't know. Chen Chanli continued to ponder and said, just now, I looked outside and felt that there was some hidden danger in this calm night sky. Junior sister, our recovery from practicing martial arts is still slow. However, we can't be in a hurry. We have to stay here. It's all up to this old man to inquire about the Tang family. But this old man is too old and weak, and he may have some ups and downs. Can we teach him some basic methods of practicing qi, so that he can practice more and strengthen his body and bones? Chen Chanli's words made Ding Yongfu extremely happy. Since crossing into this world and becoming an elderly person on the brink of death, Ding Yongfu has been unwilling to accept it. After passing away, it would be wonderful to travel again, but what if it cannot travel again and dissipate from then on? This is a highly probable event. Ding Yongfu, in order to save his own life, always practices the qi cultivation method he learned from an unknown place when he was a child. He wants to cultivate immortality and longevity, but this qi cultivation method should be a low-level product. After practicing, he has been unable to feel any progress. This will be taught by two authentic immortals themselves, both of whom are experts from major sects in the world. In terms of qi cultivation, why not follow the path of Changsheng? Ding Yongfu couldn't help but be overjoyed. He quickly climbed up the pole and gave a big bow to Changsheng and Shui Mingzhu, sincerely saying, "Thank you to the two immortals." The little old man always wants to embark on the path of cultivating immortals and wants to live a few more years. Shui Mingzhu sneered and said, "Do you want to cultivate immortality? Even if I tell you the method of practicing qi, you old man wouldn't want to. To become a cultivator, you must first have a spiritual root. As an ordinary person, if you are still a child, you can practice for decades and maybe become a spiritual root. But at such an age, it is absolutely impossible for you to cultivate a spiritual root." Changsheng was afraid that Ding Yongfu would lose confidence, so he said with a hint of encouragement, "Don't talk about cultivating immortality. After we teach you, you should practice and live to be 100 years old without any problems. You go out and call your family in, and have a good night's sleep. Tomorrow, we will continue to explore and hope you can discover something. When you have some free time, we will teach you how to practice qi." Ding Yongfu repeatedly thanked him. Changsheng took the opportunity to urge, saying, "You need to walk to the Tang family study area as soon as possible and see what happens." After a sleepless night, Ding Yongfu arrived at the Tang mansion as usual the next day. After carrying a few loads of water, Ding Yongfu slipped towards the study. The Tang family has a large area, and Ding Yongfu has been familiar with it for several days, and can now distinguish between the southeast, northwest, and north. And the study is the target, its location has already been determined. Ding Yongfu is aware of his image as an elderly and incompetent tenant, which has deeply penetrated the hearts of the entire Tang family. Occasionally, he makes some mistakes, and no one cares. So walking towards the study, even if someone knows, will not be associated with stealing treasures. Sure enough, he met the person in charge on the way, but with a mocking reminder, he said, "Old man, you're famous. Why are you walking this way? This is the way to the study, and the staff are not allowed to go there easily. Come back quickly." Ding Yongfu agreed, waiting for the person in charge to leave, and deliberately stumbled towards the study. The Tang family has set up a small courtyard specifically for their study. On both sides of the entrance are various beautiful flowers. Ding Yongfu was about to continue pretending to take the wrong path and approaching the small courtyard. Suddenly, two people came out from inside. For an elderly couple with white hair, their age is comparable to that of Ding Yongfu, and maybe slightly younger. Even though Ding Yongfu was prepared for someone in the study, he was still surprised. After several days, due to Ding Yongfu carrying water and land, almost everyone in the Tang family took a photo. But this couple has never met before. This elderly couple may have been staying in the study and never left at all. This elderly couple, one carrying a bucket and the other carrying scissors, seemed to be planning to trim and water the flower branches, but their movements were slow. Suddenly, two pairs of hazy yellow eyes shot towards Ding Yongfu. Upon encountering their gaze, Ding Yongfu felt his heart skip a beat. An invisible pressure rushed in, making it difficult to breathe. Ding Yongfu was greatly frightened. This elderly couple is definitely a top-tier expert. The occasional release of breath indicates that they are much more powerful than Changsheng and Shui Mingzhu, surpassing them several times. Changsheng has said that both he and Shui Mingzhu have suffered internal injuries, and their current martial arts are only a few tenths of what they used to be. Ding Yongfu knew from his intuition that Changsheng and Shui Mingzhu, who were not injured, were far from being opponents of this elderly couple. Ding Yongfu quickly muttered to himself, "My old eyes, have you gone to the wrong place? The elderly couple looked at Ding Yongfu and turned their gaze back. Ding Yongfu quickly turned a corner and walked in another direction. This couple doesn't look conspicuous, they are definitely top-notch experts guarding the treasure trove. However, this confirms that there are indeed treasures stored here. There is no other semicolon. If someone gets close, this couple may not even be the assassins. The reason they let me go is either because they saw that I had no skills, or because they had heard of my story last night and felt relieved. These two people don't seem to exist in the Tang family, but anything that happens in the Tang family will probably make them fully aware. Fortunately, Chen Changli and Shui Mingzhu were quite cautious and sent me to investigate the situation first. If they steal treasures recklessly, it will definitely be a dead end. After Ding Yongfu walked away, Wu touched his chest and felt like he had narrowly escaped death. Ding Yongfu dared not make any more bold moves and continued to carry water honestly. At sunset, Tang Wu came to find him again and asked Ding Yongfu to follow him. Could it be the same experience as yesterday?